Watch him throw the ball, we gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through fourth and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders, heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Die.
Sir, welcome back to another episode of Trap or Die Podcast. I'm your host, Trap or Die Podcast, Mual. The fellas ain't here yet. AJ's running a little late. Dre is as well. They'll be here any second. What's up? Appreciate everybody who's tapping in live. Appreciate everybody that's listening as well on the audio side. Real progress. Said these first, I got to give them that shout out. What's up? What's up with you, big dog? Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you're watching on the YouTube side, man. If you're on the audio side, make sure you hit that follow button. Give us a rating and review if you can. It's definitely appreciated if you can do so. And it takes 10 seconds to show your support that way, which is also free. Don't cost you anything. Unless you like to support the channel. Shout out to my trappers. What's up, High Speed? What's going on with you? Let's go ahead and get Dre in here. Administrative items. What else do we have? Film sessions are out. No, I'm sorry. Film session is out on Deebo Samuel. Laremy Tunsil is going to be next. I'm backlogging some of the college players. I have what's that dude name? That wide receiver, Luther Burden. Luther Burden is done, but you know, free agency is pretty loud right now. So we'll worry about the veteran players. And we'll put the draft prospects out in due time. On the show today, we got Matt Paras coming in. I know there's questions about that free agent that Washington signed at safety, Will Harris. They signed him to a 2-year deal. Matt Paras is going to join in and talk a little shop about who Will Harris is, just to get an understanding of him. DJ, I'm going to have to apologize in advance because I'm not good with names on the first try unless I hear them. But it looks like Bien-Aime. I'm gonna let Dre introduce him. Let him get it wrong.
Where's the name? I want to read it.
Check the chat. It's in the chat.
Okay,
DJ Bien-Aime. It looks like Bien-Aime. I ain't gonna lie to you. And then I'm not mocking his name. It's just I really do have problems with names. Shout out to all the people who called me out when I got OZ's name wrong when I did his film session. He's gonna be talking about Laremy Tunsil. Washington traded for him. If you don't know, Washington traded for him yesterday, and he is now the Washington Commanders' cornerstone left tackle. So those are the administrative items. Let's get into the show. Dre, what's up, player? How you feeling?
Man, tired as I was telling you, bro. But not even just because of work. Because I'm been getting over whatever this little thing been going around, bro. I was on my ass this weekend, so
Damn.
so I'm recovering, but I'm good. I'm here, man.
Like allergies type thing, like a whole bunch of
Nah,
congestion.
man, it felt like the flu or something because my daughter had it and I got it. And this has been going around. It's at work now. Like we just spreading that joint around, man.
Man, that's wicked. So like, what happens if like do people oh, you gonna have to use sick leave? Can't we back to the traditional? Everybody's
I
gonna have
used
to take
2 days last week, Maul. This is my first time using sick leave in about 5 years.
Yeah, I'm about to say, like, because COVID, you just quarantine it, but now it's like,
Exactly.
damn, like we back in the office, you got to use sick leave.
That's fine. I got about 800 hours of sick leave, so
yeah, that's a blessing because I ain't got nowhere near it. I got like I got under 200, which is good enough, but still.
Yeah, that's still good.
Hopefully hopefully things turn out for the better. I only asked because something been whipping my ass like lately. I thought it was allergies, but I think it was a little bit. Yeah, I think it was a little bit more than that because I don't get like allergies this early, and it started probably like 4 weeks ago. So I didn't know what it was, bro, but it was spanking me, bro.
Yeah, I know AJ said he was dealing with something, so yeah, we all been dealing with it.
Yeah, but it is what it is, man. Who have we got in the shit? Moneyball, what's up, Moneyball? High Speed said Tunsil trade solves 2 problems. Great move by Chef Adam. Okay, and Moneyball said Commanders barely got better this. I'm actually glad you said that because free agency hasn't even started yet. Moneyball.
But that's a common theme, Mo. Like
I know.
We're going on Twitter.
We're gonna tap into it, but let's get into our thoughts. Let's give our thoughts on how their free agency went so far, and then we'll spend a block on this comment. K friend, like I said, everybody, I appreciate y'all tapping in live. Let me know what y'all thoughts are on everything. Let's just hear them. Let's have this conversation, everybody. But Dre, we had some action first day of the legal tampering period. First move out of the gates, watch the Commanders sign Javon Kinlaw, formerly of the San Francisco 49ers, most recently of the New York Jets. Kinlaw was on he signed what was it, a 3-year deal? I'm messing up because I didn't realize I didn't have my stats.
It was 3 years.
All right, so a 3-year deal. I'm gonna pull up the numbers. Kinlaw. Sorry about that, y'all. I thought I had my contract. Commanders.
I want to say it was 3 years.
I got 3 years. Yeah. 3 years, $45 million with 30 guaranteed. Kinlaw is 27 years old. And as Jonathan Allen, which we actually didn't discuss last show because it didn't happen yet, he was released, ultimately signs with the Minnesota Vikings. And Kinlaw comes in and he is now that third defensive tackle among the rotation of Deron Payne and Johnny Newton. So let's kind of start with the first news of the day and let's get to Laremy Tunsil after that. Actually, I'm sorry. Let's actually mesh it together. It's the first day. What do you think about like their early signing so far?
Well, I mean, I guess we could start with Kinlaw, which was kind of the head scratcher for a lot of fans. And I get it. I mean, on the surface level, when you look at Javon Kinlaw, it doesn't look like anything impressive because, I mean, this was a guy Adam Peters was there for when they drafted him in the first round in San Francisco. He didn't quite live up to the expectations of what they thought he could be in San Francisco, but he dealt with a lot of injuries over there. So then he goes to New York, and he has a okay season. Nothing to write home about, but then whole New York Jets thing was, whatever. But the intriguing thing here is the contract they gave him and Adam Peters' familiarity with him. So this thing could go 2 ways, right? I mean, obviously it can go 2 ways, but, it could either make Adam Peters look like a genius that no one's seen this coming or whatever production that they hope to get out of Kinlaw coming. Or it can make Adam Peters start to get that criticism that some of these fans are wanting to give him. Like some of these fans are, jumping out there ready to say, hey, AP may not be this great guy that we thought he was, or so you have it. So that's what this Kinlaw signing kind of, I think, can bring on. It's one of those 2 options. But who knows what they plan to do? Like, who knows what the vision is? We seen something out there yesterday, Mual. You had put it out there, and I had seen it myself. That Dan Quinn has been, well, maybe this is some conversation going on behind doors that they want to kind of go back to some of those early Seattle days where they used the elephant in, that big defensive end that kind of turns things inside, and maybe that's the vision for Kinlaw. Who knows? But either way, I mean, that was a signing that a lot of fans probably weren't a fan of, that we all right now don't really kind of understand from our naked eyes. But maybe it's something that goes well. Who knows? I don't know what to grade that as of now. But go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I think it's several different things. I think it's interesting because I ain't gonna lie, I don't know if it's you that sent it to me or where I found it, but like there was some rumor or report that Washington may be going after Josh Sweat and dude from Milton Williams. Yeah, shout out to what's up, player?
Yeah, I didn't send that.
Yeah, Milton Williams. And like I know a lot of people get excited over such big news as that. Like two big name players, they just won the Super Bowl. Your expectations is like you going after the biggest and the baddest on the defensive line, and they go after Javon Kinlaw, but they also like sign him to a big money, like what looks like big money, a big money contract. And I mean, it is on the surface, but I think with Kinlaw, I'm not gonna lie to you, I got questions. Like I had a joke because you said, I just gotta put my faith in Adam Peters on this one, and I'm laughing because I'm like, well, I sent him a message in the chat. I didn't want to put it on Twitter because I was like, I ain't got time to be dealing with people that's like, I'm not serious, but I'm like, I'm halfway serious. I'm like, bro, like, this the same dude that drafted Ben Sinnott and Luke McCaffrey, bro. Like, I mean, what we doing? You just putting faith in these guys, man. Like, I said that in jest, but in reality, like sometimes people do make mistakes. Is where I'm getting at. I'm not calling Ben or Luke a mistake yet. It's more so just the premise and knowing that you can't say without a shadow of a doubt that those two are trending upward right now, and that's where I look at Javon Kinlaw. And, it's understandable to have questions, right? And it's also understandable to say, you know what, I'm going to close my eyes. It's like looking at the stinky underdog. And like, I feel like this is the right side, but I'm scared to play this. Like, I'm scared to play the 10-point underdog against the reigning Super Bowl champions. But I feel like, or maybe even like a 4-point underdog against the reigning Super Bowl champions, and you just know this zone ain't looking good, but you're going to close your eyes, you're going to play the bet, and then hope it works out. Sometimes things happen like that. But all that to say about the player Kinlaw, he's been relatively inconsistent. I can't speak too much specifics. I'm gonna watch the tape, but like there is no shadow of it. Like there is no argument that he's been inconsistent throughout his career to this point. And I think the word about Kinlaw is that he's been able to stack up some really good seasons his last couple years. And I think that's encouraging. I think at 27 years old, as I didn't even know AJ's here. Let me see if he's available. All right, hold on 1 second. Okay. And I think for Kinlaw at 27 years old, you're just reaching your prime. So like that's something to take in consideration when you think about how people view the trade, but also how people view the money that's associated with them. I didn't like Dorrance Armstrong's deal. I didn't like that last year. And I didn't like that because like I saw his tape and I was like, this ain't a guy who's like a game record as a pass rusher. I didn't see special in run defense. Like I didn't see anything like special out of his game or like something that he can like super like hone in on. And you can say like, all right, yeah, I see where he's going. Like he's an ascendant player. So I have like certain question marks about like the moves or the decisions made at the defensive line. And as you can tell, like the trend is Dorrance Armstrong came from Dallas. Javon Kinlaw has history with AP. And I think that's kind of the bottom line is like they know these guys. And those are decisions that they got to live with. Yeah. And those are things where you look at a Kinlaw and I'm saying, okay, We'll see how it turns out. And I'm not going to sit here and say that they made a wrong decision right now. I don't know the guy well enough yet until I watch him with my own eyes to say something. And I think what's intriguing, because you mentioned it, is the fact that, the alignment thing is something that you can actually entertain. Doesn't mean that it's going to happen. But the conversation in which people are talking about with Kinlaw is utilizing him similar to how Washington utilized Deron Payne last year on the edge, outside of the tackle, maybe head up on the tight end. And I think that those things, especially with a 6'5", 320 guy with good arm length, like that can cause problems for offensive players trying to kick out still and win the edge. Like that's gonna be problematic. So whatever their plans are is to be determined. But I'm not super high on the deal. I personally have questions, but I'm not gonna say they made the wrong decision yet. I gotta watch the player a little bit more.
I mean, I'm just jumping in here. Of course, I heard what you said. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna just rock with trust AP on this one, even though, the Luke and Benz of the world. I mean, I don't know what's gonna come out of Kinlaw. You feel me? Because to be honest, he's if we gonna keep it a buck, he's a failed first round pick. But at the end of the day, he could still be a depth piece. I think how Washington's going as far as this D line is because they didn't land an elite guy, maybe like a Myles Garrett, a Max Crosby, and maybe out on the Trey Henderson thing, is just having great rotational pieces that they can have at that D line position, whether it be D tackle, defensive end, guys that can also bring some versatility to play on the edge, just due to their size and holding up against tackles and also still having some athleticism to utilize. But I mean, yeah, you don't really know what you're gonna get. Same way you just mentioned Dorrance Armstrong. I mean, you do know what you have in those draft picks. If we're gonna keep it a buck, everyone's talking about, oh, I guess we're gonna draft a defensive end 29, or we're gonna trade back. We need more picks, blah blah blah. Well, Adam Peters had a lot of picks to utilize last year, and not many contributed besides Jaden, of course, Mikey, and Johnny to some extent. But even the guy
And
that
Brandon Coleman
was deemed to be, I mean, yeah, but look what they just did. They just went and got Laremy Tunsil. So if
but
he
he's
was
still
deemed
gonna
to
be.
I'm about to say he's still contributing. He's still gonna be
he
starting next
still
year
could
too.
contribute, but his contribution was supposed to be at left tackle. You see what I'm saying?
Not
Like he
necessarily.
could still be. No, when they drafted him, they said he was going to be the left tackle. Like
But that's a
they
third
weren't
round
giving
pick.
him possession flex. They gave him literally the left tackle position. So
Yeah, they said they viewed him. They said they viewed him as a left tackle.
so
And they was and Adam, for whatever reason, was like very, he ain't even move off the
he was
idea.
adamant about it because we knew that Coleman had position flex. He played guard and tackle at what was it, TCU?
Yeah,
So yeah, so we knew he already brought that
he
to the
played all five
table,
positions.
and that's not to say that Brandon Coleman can't be a great player. I think that he has a possibility of being an all-pro left guard in this league. But when you are adamant about someone being that left tackle and you pivot the next year, of course, Laremy Tunsil is one of the best left tackles in the league. It's Trent, him, Jordan Mailata, and Tristan Wirfs. But outside of that, you know, you would have hoped to not have had to be in that position. So we could say that it fell from that standpoint, but he could still be somebody to that offensive line. I just think that with Kinlaw, you just got to see how he gets utilized. But it makes me think about how, and I think we talked about it a little bit in the chat, just from someone that posted online. But Seattle Seahawks, when Dan Quinn was the D coordinator, they never had a stalwart at defensive end. It was a bunch of rotational pieces from Chris Clemens, Cliff Averill, Michael Bennett, Red Bryant, a bunch of different guys. It was just them playing as a collective and truly getting after the quarterback. But they never had a Micah Parsons. I mean, he had that when he got to Dallas and D-Law, but he didn't, what really made his name for himself, he never really had that. Even in Atlanta, he never really had no dominant pass rusher. And that's not to say their defense was the greatest, but Micah Parsons by far is the best pass rusher that he's ever had at an elite status. Other than that, he's just been working with a bunch of guys. So yeah, I mean, I just wanted to jump in real quick on that point. So I'm not, I'll never come on here, and I don't think we've ever done it. Oh, I trust Adam Peters. I think that's more so a lot of people in the fan base. It's like we can still critique his picks, good or bad. And at the moment, the second round pick of tight end Ben Sinnott and Luke McCaffrey aren't looking too good.
Go ahead, Dre.
Yeah, I was just gonna say for me, and because I know it kind of started with my initial tweet about trusting him, and he's gonna make mistakes, and he's gonna have things to criticize him about. Like I will be the first in line, ready to criticize him if the Debo trade fails, if the Kinlaw signing fails. But from me, the benefit of doubt comes from I thought he had a really good free agency class last year. We got 3 All Pros out of that free agency class last year. And before that, how many All Pros did we have? I think Brandon Scherf, did he make an All Pro? He might have been like one of the only one since like the 90s. You know what I mean? So, I mean, you got 3 in one class. So that's a damn good free agency class. I know a lot of people like to kind of attribute, a lot of the success we had last year to Jaden and Jaden only. And Jaden does get a big pie chart of that success credit, but you also got to credit some of the things and pieces that they put around him, and I think to AJ, he was kind of saying that, the draft was kind of underwhelming, and it may be. I mean, it is still to be determined, but I think in Brandon Coleman's case, whether he plays tackle or guard, that's a guy that you say if you walked away with a starting offensive lineman in the 3rd round, regardless of how you viewed him or thought of him when you drafted him, if he's still a starter, and especially a damn good one if he moves to guard, that's a win, So I look at last draft class like you may have got 3 or 4 starters out of that draft. Of course, Jaden. I mean, that was a no-brainer. Mikey Sainristil, Johnny Newton, and Brandon Coleman, and who knows what happens with the rest of those guys. But that's a solid start. But that's just all I wanted to kind of say as far as the trust and AP thing goes.
Yeah, I think just kind of to push the conversation forward, that's one aspect, but another thing, that people aren't like necessarily taking into account is, or maybe like not taking into account in the moment in which things are happening, is like you rarely see Washington involved with like those first few stages of free agency, like where names exist, right? And the way you maneuver doesn't necessarily always have to be, I'm going to go after the biggest fish out there and I'm going to land him and like put my stamp out there with that signing, right? It's also how you finesse. And not necessarily finesse as in get over. It's also finesse as in like, I'm going to weave through what may be looked at as a weak free agency class, and I'm still going to land a big fish. And that's Laremy Tunsil. There's like Washington landed Laremy Tunsil. They gave up a draft haul. They gave up a boatload, but it's a healthy boatload, especially for a cornerstone left tackle who, if things work out, you're talking about having Laremy Tunsil for about a good 3 to 4 years, maybe more if he ends up playing more. But they give up a 3rd round. They give up a 2025 3rd and 7th. They give up a 2026 2nd and 4th. Laremy Tunsil goes to Washington, and Washington also receives a 2025 4th round pick. I love the move. We talked about Brandon Coleman briefly, but Brandon Coleman now, because of his versatility, he can move either inside or to right tackle. I say he needs to be moved to left guard. You can kick over Alec Grady to the right side and place to Sam Cosmi. But Washington, honestly, the offensive line, the starting 5 is already is already set. Like regardless of what you do with Brandon Coleman, offensive line is officially set. You don't have to worry about anything else. You can try and go for depth. I'm cool with getting depth in free agency and the draft. But your offensive line, your starting 5 is set. Adam Peters, again, as we're saying, how you maneuver in a weak free agency class, find some value elsewhere. And they was able to snag Laremy Tunsil, 31 years old. 30 years old, going to be 31 in the season. And honestly, I watched like a couple games already. Well, we good to go. What's up? What y'all think about? We got about a couple more minutes till Matt Parrish get on, so I guess we can still talk about it on the back end of the conversation with Matt Parrish. But what do y'all think about Laremy and the trade?
I'll just say I think it kind of makes this offense complete. Like, I mean, close to complete, you know, like to the point where we were talking about before this season, you know, we need to add a lot on defense, but there's still a couple of things we need to add on offense. Now, Laremy Tunsil solves two things at once, right? I mean, you knock two birds out with one stone with this. You got your left tackle, and we've been asking this all off season. Like, this is one question I proposed to you all a couple of times. Like, what is the situation with Brandon Coleman? Is he staying at left tackle, or is he moving to left guard, or wherever he's going to move in the offensive line? But in my personal opinion, I did not want him being left tackle anymore. I mean, not to say that he was horrible at left tackle or he wasn't good at it. I just felt like he'd be better suited elsewhere on that offensive line, specifically inside left guard, because Allegretti right there, I felt like Allegretti's good depth, but I felt like Brandon Coleman is a solidified
he had his
starter.
Shot. Allegretti,
yeah, right. And he's probably going to have his shot again next year with Cosme out, and you're probably going to have him filling in his depth until Cosme comes back. And you could do a lot worse than Allegretti as a depth guy. So that moves Coleman inside. He's probably going to have a successful career there at guard while you got your bookend premier left tackle. There were questions that arose as to why does Houston give up on this guy? Why does this happen? It could be a number of reasons, but we're going to have a Houston guy on later. I mean, I've been listening to a couple of things, and all of the reasons that kind of suggested why you traded a Laremy Tunsil, a premier left tackle. None of it seemed like it had anything to do with on the field. It was more so things that maybe his personality didn't mesh. We'll dig into that a little bit more later, but I feel good about knowing the football player that we're getting. This is a guy that his peers respect, and from what we've heard, his teammates respected, and they didn't like the trade. So, I mean, this makes Washington a lot better to the point where now you're only talking about what do we need on offense? Maybe we need another receiver, right? I mean, even though we still, the receiver room got better already with a Deebo Samuel, you still need to add bodies there. Hopefully, maybe even another starter there. And then the running back position. But other than that, like, you feel like you're complete almost on offense. Like, you feel like you closed that gap with the Philadelphia on offense, because that's where the gap needed to be closed, where you talk about in those trenches. So you bring a Laremy Tunsil in, and now the left side of the line, especially if you move a Brandon Coleman to left guard, I think you feel really damn good about that left side of the line, especially, you got a good center. Now it's just the right side that's a little questionable, with Cosme's injury. Andrew Wiley, you don't know what the future holds for him at right tackle over there. But either way, like, you feel good with the line as a whole as it stands after this trade. So, man, I mean, I just couldn't think of a better position to upgrade there that day, especially with the free agency class. I mean, you had Ronnie Stanley going back to the Ravens. And it was
right there. Like, that ought to have been the indication for anybody, because there was a report, I forgot who it was, but I apologize, but the report was that the Commanders was in on Ronnie Stanley if he made it to free agency, and that ought to tell you, like, a premier left tackle, that's their willingness to know that they're willing to kick Brandon Coleman inside. And I know you were continuing on, but I think that ought to be important. I mean, that's an important part to note, is like, why they probably content with Coleman at left tackle. That don't mean that they're going to stop looking for their best combination or best way to upgrade that offensive line. And I think that's kind of a part where fans, we actually said it, we brought it to this show. Like, there was moments throughout weeks leading up to free agency where people are arguing about, the fact that people think they're giving up on Brandon Coleman at left tackle. It's like, no, like, that's not the case. Like, if you can do better, they will do better. And Washington found a way to upgrade that left side.
And Brandon Coleman will still have use. And that's the thing. Like, we're not talking about a first round pick, almost in the sense of when you go back to a Brandon Scherff in 2015. You drafted that guy in the top 5 of that draft with the intentions that, this is a tackle, right? But then before we even got to training camp, Brandon Coleman's moved to guard. And so you feel some type of way when you feel like you don't want to draft a guard top 5, right? You want to draft a tackle top 5. So that felt like a little punch to the stomach when you moved Brandon Scherf to guard from tackle. But when you're talking about a 3rd round pick who you're not even sure if this guy's going to pan out in the league, just to walk away with a starter, that's a success. That's how fans should look at the Brandon Coleman pick.
Yeah, let's go ahead and take a pause with the Brandon Coleman news, and let's talk about the signing for today. Actually, Will Harris, the New Orleans Saints, he takes a 2-year deal. Here, let me make sure I got that right. Contract, Commanders. Again, unprepared Mual. That's what I do.
2 years, $8 million.
2 years. You see, that's what. Look, man, that's why I need a producer for. I need my co-host to be right there to pick up where I left off. But nah, 2 years, $8 million, potentially reaching $10 million. Will Harris signs with the Washington Commanders, as mentioned. We're gonna have Matt Parrish joining us right now. Matt Parrish used to be on the beat for Washington Commanders, but now he's with the New Orleans Saints. And the Times. Why was some of these names today, bro? The Times-Picayune, and the Advocate. But guess what? I'm not going to butcher the name and be super disrespectful. Let's get Matt Parrish in here and let him pronounce the name. You know, because players mess up. What's going on, Matt? How you feeling?
I'm doing well, guys. I think it's Picayune.
There it is, man. The Times-Picayune and the Advocate, man. So. Like I said, he's formerly of the Washington Times, Richmond Times-Dispatch. Did the Commanders for a few years, man, and now has found himself in the NOLA with Chase Young, who just signed himself a nice little that little contract, man.
Chase found a home.
Yeah, he found a home. Like I said, I appreciate you joining us, and obviously, you know, I reached out to you just to get an understanding of. I hadn't heard of him. I mean, that's just the way things go, especially in free agency. But you've been able to cover the team for the 2024 season, and just break down who he was, and also just like the type of versatility that he does bring.
Yeah, he was a guy who turned out to be a really pleasant surprise. You know, he signed here a year ago. On a minimum contract after a pretty up and down career in Detroit. I think that's kind of the Washington connection, is that Lance Newmark was part of a regime that drafted him. But, you know, by the end of his Detroit tenure, he wasn't really playing at all. Was just mostly backup status. And he came in here, and safety was a position that was really kind of a cluster for New Orleans. It was, you know, you had Tyrann Mathieu, who was a star, and then the other spot was just a complete, like, who knows what's going to happen. And in training camp, they had a bit of an open competition, and the competition seemed like it was going so bad at some point that they brought in Justin Simmons for a visit, and you thought they were going to sign Justin Simmons. Well, that didn't happen. And around that same time, Will Harris kind of really stepped up. You know, he really emerged from those group of guys. And so once the season started, that spot wasn't really a concern for them much at all when he was in there. I mean, he started 13 games. The 4 he missed was because of a hamstring injury, but he was fine after that. Rangy safety, like really rangy, has good speed, can really play. He played mostly in the box in New Orleans, but that defense, they require, like most defenses, they require their guys to do a bit of both. So he can play on the back end, but you know, he's more versatile. I know he's had nickel stats, and maybe he did it some, but he wasn't New Orleans nickel corner. Like when they went into 3, like a 3 defensive back thing to match up with receivers, you know, it wasn't him. It was Alontae Taylor and Paulson Adebo and Marshawn Lattimore. When all those guys were healthy, those are the 3 cornerbacks. So he's more of a safety, but I think it's a solid signing. It's low risk. You know, he's not spectacular, but he's just very solid. And I've seen some ugly Washington safety play over the years, and I think he'll be fine.
I wanted to ask, I mean, with all of that said, I mean, because obviously you didn't even think that they would bring him in as a starter. He won the job at some point. But with him signing with Washington, do you think Washington can go into the season kind of saying we're penciling in Will Harris as a starter, or do you think they should still be kind of out there looking for something else at the safety spot and have him in mind as one of those guys that can rotate in, or he's just a piece that we can have in the defense?
Yeah, I mean, it feels like a starter to me. I mean, I know Jeremy Chin left, and they had a vacancy there. I mean, Derek Forrest, if he can win the job, that wouldn't be the worst thing in
Well,
the
he's a
world.
free agent.
Oh, is he a free agent? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
he is a free agent.
And they didn't treat him too well last year anyway.
Yeah.
He was relegated to special teams.
Is Percy Butler still there?
Yeah, he's still there.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
They got
Percy
one more
Butler
year.
Okay, yeah. So, maybe he competes for the spot opposite Quan Martin. Seems like he's really developed into a nice player. So, as long as they have one, I mean, I don't think you need the guy to be lights out, especially with how they've kind of, gone about building the roster elsewhere. I think he's going to be fine. I mean, even if he doesn't win the job, he's good insurance for being a backup. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how they use him, because in Detroit, he played a bit of a different role. Like, he was used as a nickel corner. And I wonder, given, Lance Newmark being part of the regime that drafted him, maybe they have more of a vision for his old type of role.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about just your opinion on where he should line up, because one of my questions to you, when you had first mentioned like a rangy guy, I'm like, in my head, okay, range, post safety. I'm sure, I mean, with range, you can play in the box, but at the same time, his best asset should be in space. And does that mean Quan gets bumped down to the box, or like how does this work? And when I asked you, like, or if I was to ask you, excuse me, where is his best fit as a post or a box? What would you say to that?
Yeah, I would say box. I mean, to me, I think Tyrann Mathieu is the better box safety between the two, but for whatever reason, like, they had him playing on the post to where, like, Tyrann Mathieu last season was like, I haven't really been my best since playing here. And part of that is because they've asked me to do things I've never done before, like playing deep. And so I don't know, maybe that's, but what they asked of Will Harris, I mean, he did everything, and it was very interchangeable. Like, after we talked, I went back and watched just to make sure. And I mean, depending on the snap, and if you go look at his like PFF snap breakdowns, like, it's literally all over the place. Like, he's listed has a lot of snaps as the free safety. So I mean, I do think they were quite interchangeable. It reminds me of like the dynamic that DJ Swearinger and Monte Nicholson used to have.
That's a throwback.
Yeah, hell of a name.
Yeah, that was one of my first pieces there. But like that defense, they use those guys like kind of all the time like that, to where it was harder to tell for me anyway.
Okay. All right. So Matt, like I said, I don't want to keep you too long. I appreciate the update. What's up? What's up with your boy Chase? Is it well deserved? Is it a good deal for him in New Orleans? Because I felt like they just didn't have no, personally, and that's not disrespect to Chase. I'm more so saying, like, I felt like they really, Chase and the tight end that just got signed, I was like, they got to pay some people, and it's not to say they didn't deserve it, but I'm like, might as well pay Chase. He had a solid season last year.
Yeah, I mean, they essentially chose Chase Young. He's making $17 million per year, and Paulson Adebo, who signed with the Giants, he's making $18 million a corner. So they went edge over corner, basically. And as a philosophy, like, I think that's okay. Chase Young was fine last year. He actually had, he got a lot of pressure on the quarterback. Kind of the story of Chase Young's career. He's almost there. He never gets the sacks. Like, we can do that, and there's still some effort plays with Chase. But he wasn't nearly as much as a, in Washington, there were concerns about the freelancing and all of that. Like, I don't feel like there was as much of that last year. And, I don't think coaches were as frustrated by him in, say, Washington. I think part of that is just expectations of where you're at in your career. But he had a really nice year last year. He fit in. He got some pressures. Like, he's not making a ton of money, even though $17 million is a lot. As far as edge rushers go, that's pretty middle of the pack. I think it's well deserved. It's not like the best deal in the world, but
Yeah.
you know, you can do worse.
Well, Matt, before you get out of here, I wanted to ask you one thing because you had my antennas raised a little bit when you said that Will Harris missed 4 games because of a hamstring injury. Now, is this something that's common in New Orleans? Because we got a hamstring injury from hell with Marshawn
Oh,
Lattimore.
my Lord.
Dude, there were so many soft tissue injuries last year here. And, you know, you think of like, oh, maybe it's the heat because they they had training camp in California. So, like, I don't really understand where it was coming from. And one of the changes they made this offseason was they fired their sports science guy and brought in a new one. So I think that's really been – they were the most injured offense in the league last year, one of the most top 5 injured teams overall.
Wow.
And a lot of them were hamstring, groins.
Wow.
And all those sorts of things. But yeah, that's funny. Actually, reuniting with Marshawn, there's, you know, Will Harris played well, and it wasn't really his fault, but the play I associate Will Harris and Marshawn Lattimore together was in week 3 against the Eagles. Jordan Howden like literally runs into them and frees up Dallas Goedert for a 60-yard gain, and that's how that game changed, and Philly ended up winning because of that, because they got an easy touchdown after that. So
I remember that. Shout out to the under. It hit.
Hopefully they don't run into each other this time.
Yeah, please no.
Oh, nah, man. I appreciate you, boss man, for the short notice. Anything that you want to plug, hopefully New Orleans treating you well. But anything and everything that you want to plug, man, I just want the people to know where they can find you.
Yeah, man, you can find me on NOLA.com. A lot of free agency stuff coming in. The Saints signed Justin Reed to replace Will Harris. So kind of a surprise there, but that actually seems like that's a nice upgrade. And they had to make a change to their secondary because it was a mess last year. So,
pray to God Derek Carr don't ruin y'all season.
Yeah.
All right, man. Hey, take care. Stay safe. Enjoy the rest of free agency, boss man.
Yeah, take care.
All right, Matt Paris. Again, talking ball with the New Orleans Saints and Will Harris. We are getting ready to have DJ on. Good Lord. DJ Bien-Aime.
Oh, that's him. Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about a fan at first. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, so all right. So did I say his name right this time?
I honestly don't even know.
You don't know?
I mean,
Okay.
because I saw it yesterday and I didn't know.
I'm gonna just apologize in advance on some real shit. Like I'm sorry in advance. But before we get them on, let's tell these people about the good men and women over there at Underdog Fantasy. Let me go ahead and solo this. The basketball season is here, man. And when you score your favorite buckets, we're alley-ooping you an opportunity to win money watching sports with Underdog. Underdog is one of the leading sports apps, and you can play now in your state. Do you want to win up to 1,000 times your money? You can with Underdog. To play, choose whether a player will go higher or lower on one of their stats, such as points, assists, rebounds, and more. They've got all your favorite leagues, teams, and stars to choose from. You can create entries with your basketball picks or mix and match across other sports. You can play with just as little as $1. And if you get everything right, you can win up to 1,000 times your money. Turning $1 into 1,000 with just your hoops knowledge. That's going to be me when I'm done with my break, if you know what I'm saying. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Their app has over 100,000 five-star reviews and millions of players. Today, if I had to play, all right, if I had to play, see how I use that? We have, who's the games? My bad. New Orleans Pelicans, speaking of New Orleans, against the Los Angeles Clippers. I like Minnesota versus. Oh, that's tomorrow. All right, so we only got New Orleans and Los Angeles tonight. James Harden, 39.5 points, rebounds, assists. I am not going to choose that, but I do like his points and assists at 34.5. I'm going to go higher on his PA. Zion Williamson is apparently active. I'm sure he's weighing 350 pounds these days. I'm going to go, even with him being over 350 pounds, I'm going to go higher on his PRA, points, rebounds, and assists. So it's at 34.5. Let's see what else we got. Avisa Zubac. I don't even know his game like that. I ain't gonna lie to you. But guess what? I am gonna go. I'm gonna go lower than his 18.5 points. Yeah. I'm gonna leave it at that. I see Kawhi on here. I don't trust him. I like Bojan Bogdanovic, but I'm gonna leave him alone. CJ McCollum, though, 3-pointers made. I'll go higher. Higher than the 2.5. So there we go. That's all I got. Higher than 2.5 on CJ McCollum. We're gonna go Ivica Zubac under 8 or lower 18.5. We're gonna go Zion Williamson higher 34.5 PRA, and then we're gonna go PA points assists for James Harden 34.5. We're gonna go higher. There you go. To download or to play, download the app and sign up now. Use the promo code TRIBEDAD to unlock a special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. Joining on the fun when you sign up with promo code TRIBEDAD. Claim your special offer today and get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly upon your first deposit. You must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in the state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. If you're concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncbgambling.org. If you're in Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342. If you're in New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text Hope NY. Let's get back to the show. All right, as I mentioned, we are going to talk some Laremy Tunsil. Oh, let me get off this. Let me get off the solo layout. Here we go. We're going to talk some Laremy Tunsil with some people with boots on the ground in Houston, Texas. Bad trainers. Yeah, that was, yeah. Right. We're going to talk some Laremy Tunsil was Houston Texans reporter, DJ. Let me actually get him in here because I told you I hate struggling with names. Here we go. Yeah, man, it happens, bro. I struggle, man. So I'm gonna just go ahead and get in here. Let me see if I get it right this time, man. DJ Bien-Aime.
That wasn't bad. Yeah, Bien-Aime. Bien-Aime. Yeah, you gotta just say it all the way through. So
I told him, I said it looked like Bien-Aime. That's kind of all right.
Eric
So I'm in
Bien-Aime.
Cool.
It's similar to Eric Bien-Aime, but it's just Bien-Aime.
Bien-Aime.
All right, nice.
See, now I feel a little bit confident, man. But DJ Bien-Aime is a Texans reporter for ESPN. He's been blessing us with his time today to talk a little bit about Laremy Tunsil. And like I said, I appreciate you joining us, DJ. But let's cut to the chase, man. What did Laremy do? Who does he have? Who does he have dirt on? Who did he get into a fight with? Because I'm trying to figure out how the hell did they say, all right, man, it's time for you to go. We're gonna take this draft comp and we'll go ahead and we'll live without you. Appreciate your time.
He's just too expensive. That's what it really comes down to. It's all that culture, like they gotta redo the culture and the blah blah blah. Bro, he's just too expensive. It's really that simple. Like he's an expensive player, and the Texans have one more year of quote unquote cheapness of CJ Stroud, because next year, if he has a good year, he'll get extended next year. And then like he gonna cost a lot of money. They gotta pay Stingley, they gotta pay Will. Like they both of them cost, all those three guys gonna cost a lot of money. Then Nico, if Nico wants to, play a little hardball, he can ask for a new deal next year too. So that's what it really comes down to, is the fact that he costs a lot. He's gonna be on the other side of 30, and they have to make some moves in that aspect. And try to free up some cap space. It's not about, they need to redo the culture, blah, blah, blah. People like to throw in cliches because like that's so easy, right? Like nobody can give you examples of how he was a quote unquote cancer in the locker room, or he black leadership.
I've heard some. Huh? I've heard some on our radio from a couple of guys. They've been talking.
Yeah, but
when they said it, did they give any examples? They just
they
said,
do. No, you know what they said? The common theme I've been hearing is he's not the type of guy that's going to go out there and fight for your quarterback if he goes and gets hit on the sideline or something. That's the stuff I've been hearing from some of you guys.
Like that. That's just. Do you want a guy that can pass block?
I want to say
that's what I'm talking about.
That's what I want to know, though. That's what I want to know. Like.
I think really what it is just a cultural difference and dynamic. Yeah. Like I think anytime someone gets traded of this caliber, who's been a premier left tackle in this league, you start to wonder, especially guys that don't get it, they don't speak the jargon,
No,
none of that. They're not a part of the culture. They just,
come on.
oh, so what did he do? What's wrong with him?
Yeah,
It
like
has to be something.
he's not
And
gonna hit
really,
a
like
guy.
you just said, he's expensive. When you think about CJ Stroud coming up, Will Anderson, who's a part of that same draft class that went 3. You also have Derek Stingley, who's come along and now is the all-pro that we all envision him coming out of LSU. You got a lot of guys that you got to pay. So
Top
do
of the
you
market.
want to invest in that Laremy Tunsil and try to keep all those assets and probably cripple yourself? Or do you want to get some pieces draft capital wise and move in silence? And that's what they did. And I just think that some pundits, especially here in the DC area, being that you're not here, they're just like, what is wrong with Laremy Tunsil? Like, who would do that? Why would they give him up? Well, sit back and go and look at the salaries that are coming up that you got to pay with the cap going up and the fact that these guys are balling. Like, CJ's balling. By the time it's really time to pay him, talking about maybe getting 60, 65.
Right.
Stingley is going to break he's going to change the cornerback market. It got changed a little bit over the past couple of days with J.C. Horn, who ain't even been an all-pro, who ain't been a Pro Bowler, who ain't played as many games. So just think what Stingley's going to do. I just think that, like I said, it's just a cultural dynamic. Everyone is trying to figure out who that man is as a character in the locker room.
Explain who he is, though, DJ.
I mean, Laremy a good locker room guy. Like everybody on the team rocked with Laremy. Not even for the most part. Like all the guys rock with him. Like anybody could go up to Laremy and talk to him, especially in that locker room. You know what I'm saying? Like he used to take guys like the rookies out to dinner all the time. Like or take the whole entire group and then just pay for everybody dinner. You know what I'm saying? Give guys financial advice. Give guys advice about stuff off the field. Entrepreneurship, all that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Give guys advice on how to be their own agent if they want to go that route. Like Laremy is a solid cat. Like by every stretch of the definition, you know what I'm saying? Like nothing ever, like he might not be the hardest practicer, but like he gonna show up on Sundays. You know what I'm saying? Like he gonna make sure he ready by Sunday, you know? So I think that again, like I remember I was on a radio show yesterday in DC, just talking about, them getting Laremy. I'm just like, bro, like he's gonna be a stalwart left tackle. Like I just pulled up the stats, one of my tweets last year, according to True Media, in terms of pass block win rate, he was top 10 among all tackles. Amongst all tackles, he was top 10 with 92.9%. And then amongst all left tackles with at least 500 pass blocking snaps, he ranked 5th in pressure rate allowed, 3rd in sacks allowed, well, fewest in terms of 3rd fewest and 5th lowest. So, like, what are we talking about here? He only allowed 2.5 sacks last year, according to Next Gen Stat. And I talked to him a lot, and he let me know if he actually gave up a sack or whatnot. And I think in his estimation, it was like 2 tops, and that's including the postseason, right? So, like, I've been covering him since like 2022. I've only seen him give up through those 3 seasons 5 sacks. Like, I've personally only seen him give up 5 sacks where he'll tell me, no, that's on me. You know what I'm saying? I think it's 5 or 6. You know what I'm saying? I seen him in a playoff game against Myles Garrett, shut him down, where Myles will barely even get a pressure. You know what I'm saying? I've seen him go against Josh Allen Hines, give him the work. You know what I'm saying? And them have really, really good battles. Him going against Micah Parsons. Like, I think he went against Micah Parsons a few times, but twice in terms of games since 2022, Micah ain't even get a pressure on the quarterback, whether it's Davis Mills or CJ. You know what I'm saying? So,
I mean, you seen Micah tweet.
Yeah, bro. Like
Micah tweet like told that. You everything. Damn, I'm gonna have to play this boy twice a season.
Micah said they cheating over there,
bro. Like Laremy, like he made the Pro Bowl last year as a starter, and he didn't even have the fan vote. So because it's 33% fan votes, 33%, and the 66% is or 67% is players and coaches, and he still made it and he wasn't top 10 in voting for fans at all the last 2 years, and he still made it. You know what I'm saying? So like that just shows the respect he has across the league. Like when guys know if they about to see Laremy, they gotta buckle up their chin strap. And he is on the other side of 30. Like he's gonna be 31 this year. So I get like why the Texans moved off of him per se, but often tackles a position where guys can play into like their mid-30s, 35, 36. We've seen with Trent Williams, you know what I'm saying? Trent Williams' best ball was later on in his career. So I think, man, like, and Laramy's going to be motivated because one thing Laremy want is to get all-pro. That's one thing me and him have talked about for years.
Yeah. He ain't never got it.
He's never gotten it. Yep. So this is only going to motivate him even more to get to that point to where he can get that nod. You know what I'm saying? I told him, though, like, hey, you going to be in DC, like they market their media market way better than anything you ever seen in Houston. So if you balling, like the world gonna know.
That's a gift and a curse.
It is a gift and a curse. Absolutely.
But DJ,
hey, I mean,
let me
gift and a
ask
curse.
DJ,
You seen Houston women, Dre?
No, I mean the women is different. We talking about the media.
Yeah.
Like the media and women are two different things. You know,
I ain't thinking about it. I think because he's one of those rare offensive linemen that actually wants to be out there and engage. Yeah. You don't have too many of those guys. So I think he'll eat it up. Especially I know we got going on with Divine Tree and his boys and all that stuff. He'll eat it up out here. So I don't think that'll be a problem.
DJ, let me ask you this because this has been one, the numbers are the numbers, and this has been one of the things that some of the people have been throwing out there. I mean, obviously, we know he's a great tackle. He's been playing great Pro Bowl level, hopefully all pro level. But one of the things that keeps getting thrown out there is the penalties. Now, is this a thing that you notice I know he was the highest penalized guy, I think, last year among the offensive linemen. But is this something that you notice on a game-by-game basis, or is this something that happens sporadically and then the numbers just kind of pop up and you're like, oh, damn, he's the number one penalized guy?
Yeah, so so it's twofold, right? I think it gets over magnified. In all honesty, he did have one. There was one game that stuck out where it was like, all right, come on, bro. It was the Vikings game. He had like 5 that game. Like that one was like, all right, bro. Come on, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm actually trying to see if I could pull up like by the game logs the penalties. But I know the Vikings game, he had a lot of penalties in that game. In all honesty, but I would say that I believe if I can just look it up because
I got you.
I look at penalties like how I look at drops with wide receivers for O linemen. It's depending on obviously context matters to an extent, but
most of them, just to help you out right quick, most of them actually came in the beginning of the season. He had the 5 against Minnesota, cool. And then he had 2 against Indy, Chicago, and Jacksonville, and had a couple throughout the rest of the season, but it wasn't as much as that Minnesota game.
And most of them were just pre-snap penalties, so it wasn't. I think he only got called for holding once the entire season, maybe once or twice. But I think it's really once. And one was on a scramble, so it wasn't like he was holding. He was getting his ass whooped. He was holding. The one thing he was holding because he was blocking somebody up, and CJ scrambled behind him, and then like he turned, and then like the DN did the whole flop thing. You know what I'm saying? Like because it was a storyline with Texans fans throughout the entire season. You know what I'm saying? But I guess my main point that I wanted to get to, Laremy played 982 snaps last season, and he had 19 penalties or 17, whatever the number is. So outside of that's a very small number in terms of the grand scheme. He wasn't getting penalties that were costing him games or penalties that were ruining drives or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And to be fair, the entire offense was getting penalties. You know what I'm saying? He did have one against the Cowboys that was ticky-tack, but it was a legal man downfield. But that goes back to that took back a touchdown, but that goes way back to the details that started with the OC who got fired in terms of being able to make sure the entire offense was extremely detailed, and it wasn't. It was a sloppy offense, and you saw it throughout the year. So that was more a symptom of the issues that the entire unit had as a whole. You know what I'm saying? So that's again, bro. Like they traded him because the main reason is because he was due a lot of money, and they were like, let's get some picks now instead of wait till next year where his value might not again be as high. Because the way I look at it, like when people talk about all the reasons, like if you and you got yourself a girl and you break up with her and people ask you all these reasons, you say, well, she don't do this, she don't do that, she also cheated on me. all them other reasons don't matter that much at that point, right? It's because you getting rid of her because she cheated on you. Like, okay, yeah, she might not clean up, she might not clean up, or she might not cook, or she might have attitude, but you really breaking up with her because she cheated on you. And the Texans
she costs too much.
She want too many cash and Apple.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? All the other reasons don't really matter. She cost too much, so she cheated on you. You know what I'm saying? So like the Texans are moving off of Laremy because he costs too much, and they got other people they have to pay. So all the other reasonings don't matter because at the end of the day, all that culture, character stuff, blah blah blah. We just saw the Eagles win the Super Bowl, and they had CJ, Chancellor Gardner.
You about to cover his crybaby ass.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's crybaby, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
I can't say that now.
I'm about to say
they had Jalen Carter on that unit. Like, come on, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you need some crash dummies, some like
crash outs. You need some crash outs
that don't necessarily fit character on a team anyway. So like,
So let me ask you this: with you covering the team, and also I could tell you have a great rapport with Laremy personally.
Yeah.
Were you anticipating in this offseason of him being traded? Was that something that maybe you had heard through the grapevine of like the football side of things, but also your relationship, which you don't have to indulge in, but did you guys ever have a discussion where, hey, I may not be here next year with Houston, I may be elsewhere?
Nah, I mean, he was gonna try to like maybe try to get another extension, but that was about it. Like that kind of, he told, like they were saying like it kind of surprised, like not surprised him, but they had an idea recently once he didn't get his contract restructured, but that was about it. Like they, he thought he was gonna be a Texan, and then like recently is when like maybe think that might not be the case, but it wasn't like, he had an inkling he's going to Washington. So it was more like everything kind of happened pretty fast, and now he's going to Washington.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they did him a favor and put him in a great spot. Another elite quarterback and someone that also can create outside the pocket.
Right. So, he's gonna be in a situation where he can
and he can cash out.
He can cash out. You know what I'm saying? Situation where he can cash out, win, possibly get all pro, and kind of go from there.
Yeah, man. Hey, DJ, I appreciate your time with us. I just had one more question. I know things are pretty busy for a lot of reporters and things like that. You mentioned the all pro part, and obviously just the new money that he's probably wanting as well. Like, is this something where you think he's willing to, in terms of a new contract, do you think it's something he's willing to wait until like another season, or
he's going to wait. Yeah, he's going to wait. Like, he's not finna,
not like a holdout thing, but like something.
Yeah, he's not gonna hold out. Like he'll wait, like because he's still
making like
seasons. So
I don't know his contract off head, but ain't he at like 23 a year?
No, I think he's at like 20. I think he's on 375.
Okay.
I think he's at 25. He's probably at 25. Yeah, so you might be right. Yeah, you might be
making good money.
Yeah.
Just curious to see like what the situation looked like. Okay.
Yeah, but he wouldn't hold out or nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? Like Larry not gonna miss no checks. I can tell you that much.
I got you. Hey, hey man, I appreciate your time and obviously, like I said, it's a busy time, bro. But breaking down things for Laremy and the Trap or Dive podcast, we definitely appreciate you. I want to give you the floor just to plug anything and everything that you got going on. I know you ESPN, you big time already, but you know what I'm saying? Let the people know where they can find you and hear from you, read your work.
Yeah, you just find me on ESPN.com on the Texans blog or it's on Twitter at DJ Bien-Aime.
Boom. There it is, man. Hey, I appreciate you. Stay safe. Enjoy the rest of free agency, big dog.
Appreciate you, bro.
All right, bro.
You're prepared for that cry, baby.
You ain't gotta say nothing. We'll talk about it. All right. So I got a couple more minutes, and then I gotta get ready for all 32. Again, for those who weren't aware, all 32 is back, so it'll be back. We'll be back live tomorrow evening, excuse me. But let's close out on the comment. Who was it that made the comment? Moneyball. Where does it says Commanders barely got better this free agency. He has some more comments in the chat. Shout out to you, Money. What's up? Hope you're doing well. What's up, Jay Tizzy? I see you. Monty, I see you as well. Make sure, Monty, I see you. Make sure y'all hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Hawk, what's up? But let's end the show on that comment and get up out of here. That is something that I've seen a lot. It's not necessarily a lot of people complaining, but I mean, it just pops up on the timeline. And I got some responses to some of my tweets where they're complaining about the secondary in particular. They're concerned about like the direction or the plan for this defense. And I'm like, yo, it's only the first day of free agency. It's second day now. It's only second day of the legal tampering period. Excuse me. Free agency starts tomorrow. My main thing is relax. Let's see what they do in free agency. Let's see what they do in the draft. But I do think personally, if you have to go into the draft with something, I think Washington has to find a way to get themselves another receiver in free agency. They have to get themselves another edge rusher in They need to get themselves an edge rusher, in free agency. That's me. When I say another, I'm assuming Kinlaw is going to be playing outside and inside, but they need to find themselves an edge rusher. That's kind of where I am in terms of free agency priorities remaining. What do you all say about the comment, but also just the fact that people think like that, and you go from there.
I mean, while we on the topic of crash out, Moneyball is definitely one that fits under that category, along with a lot of others in the fan base. Free agency is two different periods. It's the initial tampering period. Actually three. The tampering period, the official league start year, and then as you get closer to the draft and after the draft. So there's contributors still available. It's just everyone's not going to sign immediately. Like you're either waiting for your market to fill out a little bit better, understand where you stand, all those different things. But there's a lot of players still available in a lot of categories. Wide receiver, Amari Cooper is still free. Stephon Diggs is still free. Cooper Kupp gets released tomorrow. You have Keenan Allen still available at wide receiver. Defensive end, you have Matthew Judon. You have Azeez Ojulari. Like, you have players still available. Cornerback, Asante Samuel Jr. You still have guys, Justin Simmons. Like, you got guys that can play and that can contribute. Everyone is not going to be the 12:01 p.m., signing. I just think that how Adam Peters has been handling things and how things have been going with this particular offseason, it's kind of like if you went grocery shopping, if you went to Wegmans, you pick up everything that's on your grocery list so you don't have to ask your neighbor to borrow some sugar. And essentially what that means is you're getting all the things that you want to and taking your time. And when it comes to the draft, that is when you can just add the extra things on top of your shopping list that you already have. Like, so you don't have to go and be so scared in the draft and have to go ask a neighbor, hey, can I get some sugar? That's when you start seeing guys trading up, trading back. And I'm not really concerned. I think there's a bunch of players that are still out there that can be assets to this team. They still got a lot of money to work with. And if you're crying about the offseason, please remember, in this offseason, I'm going to count him as part of this offseason. You got Marshawn Lattimore. You traded for Deebo Samuel. You also traded for Laremy Tunsil. You added Javon Kinlaw and this Will Harris guy who I'm going to be honest, I don't really know much about. But you also re-signed Bobby Wagner. You re-signed Trezway. You re-signed John Bates. You re-signed Zane Gonzalez, the kicker. You've had a solid period to kick off the league year. I mean, you got playmakers. You got guys that you can build around. Deebo is a playmaker. He's a game changer. Marshawn, just, with his situation in New Orleans, things would be better this year. So there's still guys out there. I mean, that's just my take. I'm curious to hear how Dre feels about it.
Look, consensus thought was this was a kind of weak free agency and even a weak draft to a certain extent. And Washington has been one of the most active teams so far. Now, it's not active to our fans' liking, because our fans, I honestly believe that our fans think that no one else operates in free agency but Washington. Like, no other team is supposed to get the guys that they like. It's only Washington. If I like these guys, only Washington is allowed to sign them. And when Washington doesn't sign these guys, then what the hell are we doing? Look at who's been, as far as contending teams go, Washington, the Eagles, you think about the 49ers. I mean, even though they didn't have a great season, the Chiefs, the Ravens, all of these teams, none of these teams have been really active. Now, some of that may be due to the fact that they didn't have as many hoes as Washington had. But when you look at the most active teams in free agency so far, like the teams that you keep hearing, they signed this guy, this team signed this guy, Giants, Jaguars, Panthers, Patriots. These are all the worst teams in the league. These are the teams that are the most active in a weak free agency class because they have to do performative things to show that we're trying something. I don't think Adam Peters is just going out there saying we have to sign guys just to sign guys. Like, we're going to be kind of calculated in the guys that we sign. Now, again, the Javon Kinlaw signing, a lot of us are head scratcher. We, some people don't understand it. Maybe they have a vision we don't see. Then you see the trade for Laremy Tunsil. Then you make the move for Will Harris. No one even thought about Will Harris going into this free agency. Everyone was thinking Justice Simmons, whoever the other safeties that were available. But you go out and get a Will Harris, who, by all accounts, is a solid signing. I mean, we just had Matthew Paras on for a New Orleans Saints, who covers the Saints. Solid signing. So this is day 2. A lot of fans are like, everything. I think a lot of fans probably thought the offseason plan had to be done day 1. Like, if we're not signing everybody day 1, what the hell are we doing? There's nothing else to do. Everything's passing us by. But no, there's still a team to be built. And you've already done a lot so far. I think a lot of fans will lose sight that Washington has been very active. I mean, the Deebo Samuel trade happened before free agency started. The Laremy Tunsil trade is a blockbuster trade. And then Javon Kinlaw, regardless of what we think about him, it's a move that they think is going to move some kind of needle. Like the fans, we may not think it's moving a needle, but they think it's moving a needle, and they think it's moving a needle based off of what they paid him and based off of Adam Peters' familiarity with the guy. But you're not done. So here's the biggest question. I'm going to end this on this note here. The biggest thing this offseason for me personally was, how much do you close the gap with Philadelphia going into the season? I don't think you're going to fully close. It's not that I don't think. I know you're not going to fully close that gap with Philadelphia this offseason. But the question is, how much closer do you get roster-wise to Philadelphia after this offseason? And Washington is inching that way. They've made progress towards closing that gap. You got the quarterback. The quarterback is always going to give you that chance. But the rest of the roster around him, have you closed that gap with Philadelphia? It may not be a significant close, but so far they're inching towards closing that gap.
Let's address that next week. We can figure out how full. Am I gonna be? Yeah, I'm gonna be back. Let's figure out how full week of free agency treats Washington. But I do think things are turning in Washington's favor, honestly, and not just Washington, the rest of the divisions. Given that Philadelphia lost 4 starters on that defense, so we'll have that full discussion next week when we come back and see what else has been going on throughout free agency. That's gonna wrap it up for us. Appreciate everybody who's been watching live and listening as well on the podcast side. R32 again is back tomorrow. We may be around. I'm going out of town, man. I'm getting away from the federal government. I'm getting away from DC. But I'm bringing my laptop with me. I'll be able to record. If breaking news happens, I'll coordinate with the fellas. We may do a live stream, like a quick live stream, put something out, just for the love of the game. But we'll figure that out later. But yeah, Dre, I know you're tired. I know you beat, bro. You just came in from work, so we're gonna go ahead and close it out. Everybody take it easy. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your night. All that good stuff. R32 back tomorrow. Peace.
Chop it down. Chop it down. Chop it down. You gon' chop it down. Chop it down. You gon' chop it down. Damn, set. Watch him throw the ball. We gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through 4th and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders, heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Die.